I love my wife, so while she was away on a business trip, the kids and I decided to surprise her, to fly out to her. But then, and before we proceed, write what country you're viewing this video from and how old you are. Enjoy listening. Sometimes the kindest aims lead to the bitterest revelations. I just intended to surprise my wife, take our kids, and fly out to her business trip. Hi, what I witnessed behind that hotel room door changed my life forever. My name is Michael Anderson. 2 pals, just Mike. I'm 50 years old. My wife Sarah and I have been together almost 20 years. We have 2 kids. 15-year-old son, Anthony, a clever, reserved guy who's maturing faster than I can notice. And Sophia, our 10-year-old little girl who still trusts Daddy can pluck a star from the sky. That morning was like all the others during her travels. I hurried, getting the kids ready for school. Anthony wouldn't look up from his phone. Sophia poked at her bowl of oatmeal, and I chugged coffee like it was the only thing propping me up. Sarah had departed 3 days ago for New York for a business conference. She was scheduled to be there a week longer than usual. We already longed for her. I loved my wife. So at some point, watching Sophia sorrowfully stir her oatmeal with a spoon, it struck me. What if we dropped in on her ourselves? Sophia glanced up. Really? Just come to Mom. I nodded, envisioning how astonished she'd be. Knock on the room door, and there we are, the whole family. Surprise. Even Anthony looked up from his phone and said, "That would be awesome." For a teenager, that's pure excitement. I promptly called work, took time off, got the kids out of school, and reserved 3 tickets to New York. The whole time, I envisioned Sarah's face. Shock, tears, delight. We hadn't done things like that in ages. Genuine family stuff. Sweet things. I tried phoning her. Number ringtone, straight to voicemail. Odd, but she's often in meetings. I texted, "Miss you. Kids wondered when you're coming home. Love you." No response. That evening, putting the kids to bed, I called her again. A knot of dread was growing inside, but I shoved it down. It's a major conference in the city. She was probably swamped with work. It's one of the best advisors. A real shark in a business suit and heels. "You reckon Mom will cry happy tears when she spots us?" Sophia asked, clutching her stuffed bunny. Perhaps Bunny would be the ultimate surprise. I kissed her forehead. I couldn't have conceived how wrong everything would be. The real surprise wasn't expecting us at her door, okay? It was already existent in her life, okay? Soon, we arrived at the Marriott Hotel in New York, where Sarah was staying, okay? As I stepped into the spacious lobby with marble floors and muted lighting, I felt a little easier. Everything radiated comfort, fitting for a woman of her stature. I approached the front desk, where a young staff member welcomed me with a professional smile. "Good evening, how may I assist you?" I tried to remain calm, saying, "Hello, I'd like to check in for our arrival and also confirm which room my wife, Sarah Anderson, is in." The staff member swiftly checked her computer. Her fingers flitted over the keyboard. After a second, she said, "Sarah Anderson is booked with us. Her room is 718 and your room is 732. So we're on the same floor." Eased, I sighed and asked them to call her room. But a minute later, the desk clerk's voice wavered. "Sorry, sir, but there's another guest booked for that room. The reservation shows to people." My words stiffened on my lips. 2 guests, I thought. My hands automatically clenched, but I tried to keep my calm. Likely a colleague, cutting expenses. I tried to justify, though suspicion was already churning inside. I settled the registration and got 2 key cards. The kids, Anthony and Sophia, were already waiting eagerly on a comfy sofa in the lounge. Their faces beamed with eagerness to see Mom. I collected myself. I had to uncover everything quickly. Without delaying, I headed towards room 718, where Sarah should be. The hallway light flickered from dimmed chandeliers, and the quiet only magnified the worried sounds inside me. My hands trembled as I walked up to the door and knocked. No reply. I knocked again. glancing quickly around, and then, through the slightly open door, came a soft thump and a low voice. But instead of a recognizable greeting, I only heard footsteps and light giggling that triggered unease. I punched her number into my phone. "I'm at your door right now. Please answer." At that exact instant, the door slowly swung open. Sarah stood before me in a robe, slightly messy. Her hair fell haphazardly on her shoulders, and her face shifted with mixed emotions, surprise to a hint of fear. "Mike, what are you up to here?" she asked softly, stepping back from the door. An unclear note of annoyance sounded in Sarah's voice, controlling rising emotion. I tried to explain. "We came to surprise you." The kids were so thrilled. Her stare changed abruptly when she heard my voice. Her eyes fell, and I spotted a second pair of shoes visible on the room table in proof of another person's presence. Suddenly, she whispered, "Mike, let's talk privately." I retreated. 1,000 thoughts raced through my head. How did that door open? And how was there already someone else in her room? A glimmer of guilt appeared in Sarah's eyes, but she tried to mask it behind a thin layer of explanations. As we walked down the hall to talk, a feeling of unavoidable change grew stronger in my heart. This was the moment when happiness and expectations yielded to a cold reality that makes the soul quiver. I stood in the hallway, facing my wife, in her robe, with a frantic gaze, trying to suppress what could no longer be hidden. "Who is in your room, Sarah?" I asked softly, but firmly. She flinched, as if not anticipating a direct question, and then, from behind her shoulder, a man emerged, tall, around 40, in an unbuttoned shirt, hastily fastening buttons. "It's okay, Sarah," he said, and it felt like a door slammed shut in my head. Sarah, that's what only I called her, never anyone else. "Who are you?" I asked, holding back anger. He seemed slightly confused, offered his hand, then retracted it. "My name's Timothy. I'm from the New York branch." I wasn't aware she was married. My heart sank. I looked at my wife. "You didn't inform me you have a husband, that you have kids." Sarah stood mute, looking at the floor. Only then did I see the last of her inner defenses shattering. "It's not what you assume," she began, then explained yourself what it is. Timothy took a step back, clearly grasping he was in deep, and muttered, "I'm apologetic. I didn't know. I'll leave." He vanished down the hall, and we were remaining. Me and the woman I'd lived with for almost 20 years. The mother of my children, my Sarah, the one I adored. "It was a blunder," she whispered. "One time, I don't even comprehend why, ... And he, apparently, just by chance, ended up in your bed," I said, icily. She averted her eyes. "The kids are in the hotel. Sophia inquires if Mom will cry happy tears when she sees us, and you, you didn't even answer the phone." Tears shimmered in her eyes. "I need to change. I'll come to your room." I turned towards the elevator, but before pressing the button, I paused. Was this the sole time? She didn't answer right away, and that silence was enough. I nodded to myself, understood. When I got back to our room, Sophia sprang up. "Dad, did you locate Mom?" "Kay, she'll be here soon," I managed. Anthony gazed at me intently. "Kay?" He grasped everything without words. I smiled at my daughter. "In the meantime, let's get food. Burgers, fries. Sound good? And cake," she shouted. I nodded. "And cake?" 20 minutes later, there was a knock. Sophia, radiant, dashed to the door. "Mom." Sarah stood before us in flawless makeup, in a business suit, as if nothing had transpired, as if there was no robe, no unfamiliar man, no piercing silence in the hallway. Sophia hugged her fiercely, as if attempting not to let go. Anthony didn't approach. He just nodded, blankly. He comprehended. He saw everything. I looked at my wife, and in her gaze was a plea. "Please, not now, not in front of the kids." I nodded, but inside, Everything was already settled. We sat at the small table in the room with the room service tray. Burgers, fries, cake. Sophia babbled nonstop, recounting how we flew, how long we hunted for a favorite travel pillow, how Anthony assisted in choosing the hotel. Sarah listened, nodded, but I saw her thoughts were elsewhere. "Mom, will you dine with us?" Sophia asked, shining with happiness. Sarah's smile quivered. "Sweetie, apologies, but I have dinner with clients, a crucial meeting. I'm all yours tomorrow, now. We traveled all this way for you, ... She whispered, and it became tough to breathe. I laughed roughly, deeply, pretending it was a cough. "Have a pleasant dinner," I said, looking Sarah straight in the eye. She realized we both knew the dinner wasn't with clients, but Sophia didn't yet. After she left, Anthony was silent, but his stare scorched. He seemed to be assessing how far I was willing to go in this situation. "Dad, ... He put down his fork. "Is she unfaithful to you?" Halted. Looked at him, at my son, at the boy who had suddenly transformed into a man. "Yeah," I breathed out. "I believe so." He nodded. No tears, no drama, just a reality. And that was the most frightening part. "How long has she been acting like this?" he inquired. "Unsure, but seems like not the first time." We went for a stroll along the waterfront. Sophia, as usual, bounced with delight. Everything seemed like a marvel to her. Anthony walked silently beside me, then suddenly said, "Don't confront her yet. Let her still trust Mom." I nodded. "Pledge." He unexpectedly bumped me with his shoulder, man to man, nearly embracing. "I see. So we'll manage, me and you. Me and Sophia. However much it aches, we'll endure." When we got back to the room, Sophia was already dozing on my shoulder. It had been a lengthy day. Anthony walked silently beside me, hood up like he wanted to vanish from the whole world. I pressed the elevator button. The doors opened, and there, by our room door, stood her, Sarah, arms folded, lips tightened, gaze strained, as if she wasn't the one who needed to clarify. "Where were you?" she almost hissed. I dialed dozens of times. Strolling by the waterfront, I answered evenly, shifting Sophia more securely in my arms. Left my phone in the room. Anthony silently walked past her, opened the door, went in, didn't even glance her way. "What did you reveal to him?" she hissed when we were isolated in the hallway. Ha! What he'd already deduced himself. I didn't deceive. "Mike, you had zero right to talk to him without me, and you had the right to commit what you did." She took a step back. I walked past, not awaiting an answer. Later, when Sophia was asleep and Anthony lay on the bed, gazing at the ceiling, Sarah tried to talk. "Mike, let's go out. Chat for 5 minutes. Without the kids." Anthony didn't even turn his head. "Proceed. Can't sleep anyway." We went out and walked to her room, that very room where it all occurred. I didn't sit down, stood by the wall. The room was neat, the bed made, as if nothing had happened, but the atmosphere was still different. "Caney despises me," she uttered. "He doesn't despise. He just knows." She sat on the edge of the bed, on that very bed. I don't know what possessed me. It all just accumulated. We became distant. "You're constantly at work, with the kids, ... You imply it's my fault." "No, I just ... She covered her face with her hands. "It was a misstep. A further one, with Timothy ... 3 times. She looked at me and didn't fabricate. Yes, I turned to the window. 20 years. It's all wasted for a fling, for the sensation of being a new Sarah." She didn't answer. "You informed him you weren't married?" "Yes," she almost murmured. And in that moment, I understood everything. I couldn't coexist with this anymore. Not with her, not because I loathed her, but because I didn't trust. And without faith, a family doesn't exist. "What next?" she asked, sitting on the edge of the bed like a schoolgirl awaiting reprimand. I looked at her, The woman I had lived with for 20 years, whom I'd once loved recklessly, the mother of my children, and yet a total stranger. Tomorrow, early, we're departing, I said steadily. I'll purchase tickets for the earliest flight. Kids? Yes, home. She nodded, as if everything inside had already collapsed. The fight was over. I don't want to forfeit them. ... Belated, I said, quietly. You've already lost them. Sophia just hasn't realized yet. She tried to respond, but words failed her. I walked out, leaving her sitting in silence with her hands drooping. I didn't slam the door, simply exited. In the morning, we stood at the airport. Sophia clutched her mom's hand and didn't fathom why she wasn't flying with us. Will you fly afterward? She asked, peering into her eyes. Yes, sunshine. Soon, Sarah lied. Anthony didn't even come over to bid farewell. Embraced her for a second, silently, without eye contact, as if it was mere procedure. On the flight, Sophia slept on my lap. Then he observed out the window. As we began our landing, he suddenly asked, Dad, are you and Mom now splitting up? I took a deep breath. I don't know, Anthony, potentially, but regardless, it's you and me and Sophia. That's permanent. Nothing alters that. He nodded. You're doing the correct thing. We merit better. Those words were like a knife in a foundation. It shouldn't have ached so much, but it did. 3 weeks passed. We sat in the kitchen. Sarah and I, divorce papers laid before us. She looked at me and, for the first time in a long time, was without makeup, real, unkempt, exhausted, and a foreigner. Will you ever pardon me? She asked. I pondered for a long time. For the kids, ... conceivably, but I don't accept it myself. Some things can't be repaired, she sighed, put a full stop. I watched her go to the door and, for the first time since that night in the hotel, felt liberation. The agony remained, but freedom came with it. Now, I knew, the kids and I would cope. We are a family, even if one of us chose to be apart from it. Few months passed. Our house is hushed now, but there's more honesty in that quiet, more integrity. Anthony became even more reserved, but I see him developing, becoming a real anchor. He helps Sophia with homework, mends the shelf in the bathroom, ensures I don't forget to turn off the stove. He aged beyond his years, but inside, he's still the boy who just desired the family to be authentic. Sophia didn't question for a long time, but one evening, as we were preparing dumplings together, she suddenly said, Dad, is Mom living alone now because you argued? I put down the spoon, looked at her, and understood. Dishonesty wasn't an option. No, Bunny, not just an argument. Mom made a very serious mistake. We're not husband and wife anymore, but you're still her daughter and mine, and you'll never be a couple again. No, sunshine, but me and Anthony are constantly here, constantly with you. She nodded, silently, didn't cry, just approached and hugged me. Fortunate, you don't lie. Sarah lives in an apartment downtown now. We communicate rarely, only concerning the kids. Courteously, without feeling. Anthony still barely speaks to her. He can't. Not yet. Sophia travels to her on weekends with flowers, with sketches, and each time returns a little more subdued. I don't interfere, just anticipate when she wants to talk, okay? Every time she laughs again, I know we're moving the right way. Sometimes in the evenings, I sit by the window with tea and ponder. How did it occur? How can you live with someone for 20 years and in one instant realize you daren't recognize them anymore? But then I hear Anthony activate music in the kitchen, hear Sophia giggling in her room at some cartoon, and I grasp. I know the essential thing. I didn't misplace myself. I didn't lose my kids, and will construct everything else anew. Without lies, without betrayal, from zero. But honestly, ... Thanks for watching. Not comment what country you're from and how old you are. We're genuinely interested.